JB here. Hope everyone's doing awesome. Wednesday, December 10th, 9/19 on this fine Fed Day. Happy Fed Day for those that celebrate. Talk quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from the S&P. Chopping around here, flat and slightly in the green. Uh, Pretty much lackluster start to the day on gonna be, I would assume it's gonna be very volatile come around 2 o'clock. So 2 o'clock today, we get the Fed statement. 2:30, you get the Powell presser, and it's the countdown begins. One of the last press conferences from Fed Chair Powell. Are they going to cut rates? The last Fed meeting, there were concerns. He kind of, I would say, waved the red flag, but gave some caution that, hey, maybe the Fed's not going to cut rates at this meeting. So markets were volatile. And then as data started to come out the coming days, then it was the market started pricing, hey, we're going to cut rates because now the data is weaker. And now it's kind of reverse course. And we saw weekly jobless claims last week at levels not seen in 3 years. And then just some of this economic data. And we haven't had it all, obviously, because the government shutdown. But all signs kind of point to an economy that's not slowing down, right? So we'll see what Fed Chair Powell does at 2:30. Hopefully, he doesn't drop the mic and surprise markets with some crazy hawkish spin. To me, I put on the watch list this morning. My concern would be the P word, right? Pause. I don't want to see that word referenced too much. Otherwise, I think markets will get a little volatile. And then, you have to have some concerns. If he's extremely hawkish and his term ends, I think in May, then you're worried that is the Fed not going to cut rates for a couple of months? If that's the case, I think markets will come under pressure. So that's that. So that's the big thing in the afternoon. 679 is a big spot on SPY, so I'll be watching that today. If we break under that, I'll be looking for some hedge positions. Probably, I talked about yesterday, the SQQQ calls are probably the way I'm going to go. I'll continue to look at some of the other names that I've been going to as kind of like my go-to put hedges: ASML, Lam Research, maybe even AMD. Broadcom reports tomorrow after the close. Those premiums are too expensive for me to trade on a risk-reward basis, so I'll kind of stay away from that one. And that's that. Yesterday, markets opened kind of flat, ran to highs in the noon hour, and then just melted for the rest of the day. Closed into the red. The VIX was up slightly. The thing that has me concerned is the yields. And you take a look at the yields on the 10-year. Well, I don't have my chart here. Having issues again. Sorry about that. But hitting levels not seen since the start of September. So don't want to see that the 10-year keep going higher, because then I think it gets to the point of it's like I would say the path of no return, but it's a heck of a lot harder for the U.S. to get out of a situation where the debt becomes insurmountable. To finance the debt becomes such a large portion of revenues that you get. It's just not it's not a snowball, not a situation we want to get into. But anyways, that's rants for other days. That's overall market. So yesterday was kind of like one of those more harvesting days, very selective, looking for positions. I was talking about Roku. I'll talk about that in a second, but got those FL 1-800-FLOWER calls, right? And it's a name, high short interest, 30% short interest. I traded back in October. I think it was October. Not one, it's a turnaround story. Number two, you look at its valuation, trades less than 1x revenues, seasonality. It's obviously a big business, picks up into the holiday season and then February of next year. So just because of that, I think there's an opportunity for it to bounce, right? And I saw it running up yesterday morning after the open. It was like 380, 390. And I'm like, this thing's going to go. I go and get those January strikes and boom, off to the races. Stock closed up 32%. No news, no catalyst. Locked some of the January calls out for 100%, then some more out for close to 200%. And it's been bouncing around in the pre-market overnight hours. It was 554. Dropped down under 440 just a little while ago. I'll probably just hold the last of the Januaries. And even if it dips here today, closes red, just because I think at some point there might be some more follow through. And when I said follow through, a move to $6, $7, $8 in the coming weeks. 200-day moving average is 509. So that would be a key spot today if it gets up there. So that's 1-800-FLOWERS. I was kind of joking, right? This day and age, any whisper of some kind of deal, whether it be in regards to AI or even back, a couple years ago, was anything related to crypto or Bitcoin, stocks would go bonkers. So maybe 1-800-FLOWERS turns to some kind of AI service platform or whatever. And now some news and the stock goes bonkers. All right, and then you have that 30% short interest. So that's 1-800-FLOWERS. Also yesterday, Duolingo did what it did on Monday, chopped around at the open. I almost pulled the trigger on closing the last of the calls, and then boom, takes off by 12:30 or so. The stock's near 214. Locked some more of my 225s in for over 300%. I just have a couple left. Put it on the watch list this morning at 203.75. That's a big spot, right? So To me, that means the Bulls are in control or possibly in control. We'll find out today. Uh, if it stays into the green, maybe it's 210, 212 in the late morning, early afternoon. I might look for some more spec calls, but doesn't make sense to fight the Fed. We'll see what happens at 2:30. I'm not going to just go to get calls on a chart breakout, knowing that there's some possible binary event in the afternoon. Nothing's going to matter if there's a hawkish spin by Fed Chair Powell. So take that with a grain of salt. So that's Duolingo. And then other names, Serve Robotics all the way over to 1375 handle, key spot, and then it just couldn't hold. Reverse course, closed in the red. I'll continue to be patient there, adding strikes. Again, looking at probably the March strikes at some point to get some more calls there. Keep watching Roku here for the bounce, right? And, when I say for the bounce, it's already rallied nice this week. I think it was 92.50 on Friday. Here it is all the way up, closed at 105.56 yesterday. It's kind of flat here in the pre-market. I was looking at the 110s yesterday on a weekly basis. I might look for the 115s at the next week. But again, I'm going to be patient. Probably if I do add strikes, it won't be until after the Fed meeting. And then other names, I keep looking at Kava to try and trade that one again. Thankfully, didn't add calls yesterday. It was up to $54 by the noon hour, and then gave it back, kind of like a flat session. And flat sessions are not good for call premium. So continue to be patient there. Not much here to add on Reddit, all the way up to 237.50 for the third day in a row, and then just couldn't break out. Closed flat 236.11. I'll just continue to hold the last of my freebie strikes, and then at some point look to get some calls into next week. I think that's about it. After the close today is Oracle, and as much as I would like to get some strikes on Oracle, I'll be patient. I put it on the watch list. To me, the ingredients for all-time highs into the end of the year is the Fed kind of staying the course, cutting rates. Powell's able to at least alleviate concerns of being extremely hawkish. And then Oracle and Broadcom. Oracle's got to have a monster being raised after the close. Talk about their $500 billion in RPOs. Give some rosy guidance, alleviate some bubble concerns, and then same with Broadcom tomorrow. And if those at least those two names can alleviate bubble concerns, I think the market can work its way to all-time highs into the end of the year. That'd be ideal scenario, right? The not ideal scenario is a hawkish Powell today, and then some kind of kinks or cracks start showing in the AI. I guess you would call it the bubble, the AI situation with Oracle after the close. If that happens, then you got to worry. And 279 is the big spot. That 679, on the SPY, and 673 is the 50-day moving average, and then things could get a little crazy. So can't rule that out, right? I'm not giving that a high probability, but especially with what's going on with the current environment, if we start to get some kind of selling, you can see a move 650, 655 on the SPY. Not saying high probability, but you just got to be open to it, because if you're not, you're going to get destroyed. And at the same token, it's going to be profitable if you're in some put hedges. All right, let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.